At Chris Kehler Holistic, we demonstrate real healing and real caring to your health issues and needs. Our solution for you is an alternative to the alternative. Our out-of-the-box treatment methods are aimed to your specific well-being and are quite different than most. Venturing down the realm of quantum energy healing, Chris uses unique modalities of healing, such as spiritual intervention with pendulum dowsing, sacred geometry tools such as the neutralization, divinity, and sun ring. Another tool Chris uses is a 5-tiered pyramid affectionately known as the Silver Light Pyramid to activate quantum activity within the body. Also, Chris Kehler Holistic uses radionic technologies in various platforms with specific liquid mineral ionics to balance out excesses and deficiencies within the body. At Chris Kehler Holistic, our goal is to get tangible and measurable results in the least amount of time possible so you can carry on with what's important in your life. Another advantage to this unique energy healing is that it can be done at a distance healing session. So location is not a barrier and can be done conveniently at your home, office, just about anywhere through Skype or telephone conferencing. Eliminate costly protocols, expensive monthly supplements, high-priced allopathic operations, invasive surgeries, and dubious medication applications that keep you trapped in a financial and health rat race. Get a specific, customized, out-of-the-box solution tailored for your health recovery. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we are warm welcoming and want to put you at ease with your visit to us. Please visit www.chriskehler.net for further information as we welcome your questions and inquiries to starting this unique journey. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we want to show you that we are the alternative to the alternative and the out-of-the-box solution to customize an answer for you to spend less and gain more in your high vibrancy journey. Visit www.chriskehler.net. Real healing and real caring to your health needs.
Let me introduce to the world Mr. Chris Kehler.
Hey, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another live episode of A Quantum View, live from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, sunny Winnipeg. Tonight's guest on the show, I was on his show about 4 weeks ago. We got John B. Wells on the show. You know his voice. Now, when I first heard this guy on the radio, I said, if the creator of the universe had a voice, it would sound like John B. Wells. Okay, John B. Wells is a leader and the host of Caravan to Midnight, a popular radio show. John interviews top-rated guests about matters of national and international importance from all around the world. He is an international renowned voiceover artist with credits ranging from servicing as the announcer for CBS, The Late Show with Craig Kilborn, voicing promos for television hits like Discovery Channel's Deadliest Catch, Gold Rush, and lending his voice to films like Oliver Stone's JFK and talk radio, as well as the popular series Unsealed Alien Files. Please welcome to the show John B. Wells. John, how are you today?
Great to be with you. Greetings to you and to everybody in the Great White North and beyond.
Well, I think beyond is probably the better way to describe it. Today is a nice day in Winnipeg. Normally, we've got this cold temperature that everybody knows Canada for, but in the summertime, it gets really nice and warm up in the plus 90s for sure. Now, the reason we're having you on today, John, is we want to talk to a person who has many discussions and has had lots of information given his way about alien aspect. Tonight's topic of the show is why is the public so alien on the topic of aliens in our age of technology. We just want to have a nice chinwag about this and just discuss it, because if you really look at what's going on YouTube nowadays, if you do a search on any kind of video about aliens or UFOs, there's millions of hits on these things, and people are just got this big curiosity about what is going on, because at the end of the day, we all know that we're not alone. Is that not right, John?
I completely agree, and never have been. We never have been. And but you're saying, why are people so alien to information that aliens are here? I mean, there's a couple of different ways that I can read that. Do you mean they're distancing themselves from the information that's available, despite the fact they get millions of hits on the sites, or?
More so people are so interested in it and just sloughing it off as, there's a video about it, but is it real? Is it true? Is there any validity to it? I'm going to say that probably 90% of all the videos that you see on YouTube are fabricated. And a lot of people have come forward and said so. But there are some videos out there that you just cannot say that these are fabricated. A few come to mind. There's one where there's a panel of people, a lot of scientists watching this video, and there's just no way that this thing could have been fabricated. There's this bright silver, shiny flying object coming out of these trees, and it just kind of disappears into nothingness. I think it's more so there isn't enough proof, not enough rock solid proof.
I'm with you on that. Now, I'm going to have to give it. Usually I ask and I mean no ego intended, it's really more self-deprecating than anything else. I'm going to give you the converse to the John B. Wells shotgun out the back door question, and I'm going to give you the John B. Wells shotgun out the back door answer. If you look back at these ancient texts, and you get a sense for what the ancients, what their, just to use colloquialisms, what their head trip was, it was all really more of a heart trip than a head trip. It's like where the people say where the mind goes, the body follows, and I would submit to you and your audience that where the heart or spirit goes, the mind follows. And so I think what's happening here, there is as Anthony Patch said, there is a coalescence of events that are occurring right now, and many of these things are insidious. And when I say that, I don't mean to suggest sinister, although there is a sinister component to it. I'm quite sure of that. It's just meaning that it doesn't happen all at once. 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 20 years even is a big deal in the grand scheme of things at all. And it takes a while for the beaker, if you will, to start bubbling. And I think what we have here is a multifaceted reason for people's current mentality toward these alien activities. One of them is that I believe people are getting more despondent. I think they're becoming more introverted. As Dr. Sam Askamanich said, people are beginning to act like, not all of them, but a noticeable number of them are beginning to act like somewhat aggressive zombies. Number two, people seem to assign some sort of credibility, however many times they've been proven to be just interested in the money and very little else, despite the fact that the promo is so much better than the actual story 9 times out of 10. People still assign a huge amount of credibility to the dreaded mainstream media. So if mainstream media isn't picking it up and talking about it, then how serious can it be? And you're right, there have been a lot of fabrications on this UFO stuff all over the internet. The internet is just rife with disinformation. And when I say disinformation, I mean the deliberate planting of phony information to take people off of it. You know, all it takes is much like the way the progressive left handles their arguments. You can come up with them and state in most articulate manner a very salient point. You can make a very good argument. But what they'll do every time is inject some sarcasm or humor which distracts the listeners from it just for a moment so that the truth thrust, the essence of the thrust of the argument is lost or neutralized in some way. And I think that's what the purpose of this disinformation is. However, there's another component, and that is that, Roswell, the Phoenix Lights, and then the mayor shows up and puts a spooky mask on with a green alien head on and stuff like that. They ridicule it. I think people should be aware, and it's hard to do, but people should be aware that when someone comes up with, or let alone a group of people, comes up with the number of observations that have been made about this activity or anything else. It doesn't have to be about UFOs, as they're called, or alien visitations, extraterrestrial phenomenon, that sort of thing. It's going to be met with ridicule, because there is nothing that puts people off quicker than ridicule. And then they issue their ridicule, and then they move on to something else, and the whole point that could have been made is now diluted, and it'll be forgotten for a while. Still, it lingers a little. There's another component. It could be that the reason for this, because in the same way that a little joke or a little catchphrase or a new expression, it seems that it spreads across the entire Western world, somewhat localized, the States or Canada or Western Europe or something. Oh yeah, the Germans and the English, they all know the same joke. These things go, as they say today, viral. So it is possible that what is happening is a lot of disinformation with the attendant ridicule is being proffered because there really is an alien agenda, and those who are aware of it and those who have found a way to bend it to their own uses are not ready for this to be revealed just yet. But when it serves them, it will be. You've already got this Pope, and I don't want to get started on him. You've already got him talking about baptizing aliens. Just a little drop of information here and a drop of information there, and then another drop about the Vatican, NASA, Mount Graham Observatory, a little bit of information about that. So they, with quotes around it, they always tell us what they're going to do before they do it. And they hint of things that are going on as they're doing it, when they know that what they're doing is going to eventually attract a lot of attention. So it could be that we're being conditioned when these things finally make their presence known, I mean, generally, to be much more calm than we otherwise would have been. I'm pretty sure that back in the late 40s and 50s, and all the stuff that happened after the Roswell incident, I'm pretty sure that the government was concerned that the general population might just absolutely lose their minds the same way that they did when Orson Welles broadcast his War of the Worlds. There were people committing suicide over that.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, as I said many times, including back on Coast to Coast AM back in the day, I think we're about to meet him. I really do. And I got a lot more for you, but I'll let you get a word in edgewise here.
Well, yeah. Now, if you look at the whole concept that we know they're there, but give us some proof. What is a rock-solid proof? Now, within the work that I do, and anybody who's been following what I've been doing as working with healing and helping with health problems, is one of the big concepts that I work in is removing the alien concept or the actual alien out of somebody's body. And generally, it turns out to be a reptilian, a gray alien, an archon. And what I just found today, and this is a bit of a door opener, there's a species that I found called a zirconian, which is a cross between a reptilian and a Sumerian. It's a hybrid. And these seem to be the big game players manipulating humanity. So when you ask for proof, when I remove this alien out of your body, out of your consciousness, and all of a sudden you feel better and your health problem starts to go away, I mean, ultimately, there's, other than one getting out of a spaceship, walking to your door, knocking on their door and asking for a cup of sugar, there's really not much more proof that somebody can really ask for. When I say to them, I'm going to remove an alien out of your body, they look and say, yeah, okay, you know what, go ahead and do that. We'll see what happens. And all of a sudden, they feel as if something has left their body. They feel something leave. Then their eyes open a little wider and they say, I think there's something going on here that I need to know more about. And then they'll start researching a bit more and opening their consciousness somewhat and actually, finding some answers that they've been looking for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of goes back to, Hubbard touched on that, Ronnie Hubbard, with his Church of Scientology about, to become clear is to get the space alien out of you. So despite the fact that the people have suggested that he wasn't exactly on the level in every regard, he may have, sometimes there's a song, I believe, Patti Smythe, I think, did it. Maybe it was Patti Smith. I think it was Smythe. And sometimes a fool can get lucky and win. So despite the fact that somebody may have a huge body of work that's largely, I'm not saying Hubbard's work is, I don't know. I'm dubious of it, but in any case, it does teach people discipline. That much is certain. But he may have a real insight into something, and so we just take that little piece of knowledge and store it away. There's some strange stuff happening on our phone line. Are you getting it on your end?
We're getting some kind of feedback. You okay there, Bob?
I'm fine. Mine was off.
Okay.
So it's coming from over there.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I was hearing myself come back and stuff like that. It's after a point, the evidence that you're collecting just simply cannot be ignored anymore. But people will say, well, come on, we're just Earth and we're just people and we're not important. And, well, you just handed them a point when you say that up on their scoreboard. Because astronomers, if anything that they say is to be believed, and again, we have to vet the information, and sometimes it's just not easy to do that. See, everybody wants an answer. They want an answer. They want an answer, a complete answer to their question. They want it right now. They want it when they want it. But it's not always possible. And so there is no evidence that there is any planet like this one anywhere near here. Even this one that's way over yonder. Oh, it looks like Earth. It could be an Earth-like planet. Well, it'll take 11 million years to get there. And most of us are going to be geezing pretty heavy by the time 11 million years goes by. So, irrespective of how many times we may be reincarnated. So, Earth people are special. I believe that we are special. We may not think so. We may not act very special. We may act like a bunch of right brutal savages sometimes. But I think we know that even the worst of us, with the exception of the occasional psychopath, there are always exceptions. That's the beautiful thing about the universe. But all of these people are capable of sweetness, gentility, empathy, sympathy, charity, all of these things. You just have to catch them at the right moment for these positive qualities to be revealed. But I do believe that Earth is home to a very special race of people, the human being. And I believe that what you're seeing is most assuredly addressable on a spiritual level. It's not just nuts and bolts and, oh, isn't that an interesting rivet? Never seen one like that before. Till I saw this interplanetary craft. I think we're missing the point there. I've been saying recently the old Shakespearean line, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. If you want to call them angels or demons, okay. If you want to call them UFO guys and girls, okay. We're talking about the same thing. We're talking about off-planet entities. Some of them are beneficent, and some of them are downright evil, and they do weird things to people. Others have had somebody interdict ugliness that was about to befall them. So there are apparently off-planet, very caring and nurturing creatures, and there are some ugly ones out there too. But if you go to the Bible, it talks about wars in the celestial realm. It talks about all these things. People go, oh, the Bible, that's just a comic book with a bunch of weird stories in it. Well, they haven't read it. And that's why they say that, because they're starting to act like parrots and just repeat what somebody else has said that sounds interesting, so they think that they'll chime in and be cool also and just somehow rise in their level of hubris and arrogance.
Get on the bandwagon.
To the point that they just poo-poo these ideas, and they should not be poo-pooed at all.
Let's talk about humans for a second. What I find, and this is within the work that I'm doing, in the research that I'm doing, humanity, we're about the sixth seeding of humanity on this planet. There's been other civilizations, and it goes back a lot farther than what the scientists say. It goes much farther than that. Of course, the Egyptians did not build the pyramids. What I understand is that we are here as humans, basically as rats in a cage. We're here for these aliens to study us, to use our DNA for experiments, to see what happens when they mix A with Z within the Y chromosome, to see what happens if they poke us with a stick. And they live off of our energy, the energy that we exude on a daily basis. You have a big sneeze, and that is exuding energy out of your body. They're there to eat that up. Fear is one energy that they love. It's just like going and having a big cheese and pepperoni pizza for them. So the concept that we're here for them to experiment, we're here for them as food because they eat energy. We eat plants and animals and crops and drink water. They consume energy. And also for entertainment. Hey, let's go play with the humans for a little while. We're kind of bored. Let's create a scenario. Let's start a war in Syria and see what they do. Now, there are a lot of humans on this planet who have been planted here by benevolent races that are here to help humanity, here to help the ascension process and to help people move forward and to understand things. And those are the ones you need to watch out for. You need to find one that's going to help you in order to help your process get through all of this stuff. Now, the whole concept about ascension, we keep on hearing about ascension, the fifth dimension and that concept. What that is the end date of all of this interference from these aliens on a negative level to stop happening. Peace is going to come. Wars aren't going to automatically stop. There's always going to be confrontation on different levels within the lower level vibration of humanity. People who are above that level, people who are open and spiritually minded, people who know that there is something else going on there other than what we see on mainstream media. People who know that, people who are awake, people who are spiritually minded, they're going to find themselves within a new level of consciousness where basically instead of learning, it's knowing. Manifestation of certain things is going to be a lot more easier. And these aliens, dark aliens let's call them, are here to try and stop that from happening, because once that happens, there goes their meal ticket.
Well, yeah, I think that's really true. And, when you consider that, again, there are always exceptions to this, but I remember when I was a kid, my dad read this article, and scientists had gotten together and asserted that animals may actually think. And the way my dad said it, it was like I read it as though he was amazed, but I think he was being sarcastic, as if what he was really saying was, well, duh. I mean, people have said if you toss a pebble toward a cat, it'll look at the pebble. If you toss a pebble at a dog, the dog will look at you. So cats look for effects and dogs look for causes. Now that's probably an overgeneralization, but I think you take my point. Every person, even someone that you and I would say, well, okay, just between ourselves, that person is a moron. Well, okay, but only within the context that we're making this judgment. It could be that every person has something quite special to bring to the party, but they may not know what it is. It may not be actualized within them yet. But these, let's go back to Scripture for a second. You remember this one? Daniel's stuck in the lion's den, right? The cats are all just lying around. They're not bothering him. And Angel shows up and says, "Come on, Dan, we're leaving." He goes, "Well, I'm paraphrasing, of course." He goes, "What took you so long?" He goes, "Well, cut a long story short, there's this huge thing going on in the celestial realm." "What do you mean, like a battle in space?" "Yeah, a battle in space." "Well, how bad?" "Well, it's pretty bad. We had to call Michael in, if that tells you anything." "Wow, really?" "Yeah, oh, you don't have any stuff. Come on, we're leaving. Let's go." See, and then you read where these space guys came down and said, "Say, these babes are pretty good looking. Maybe we should party with them." So they did. And from them came the Nephilim. And let's just take it from UFOs just down to planet Earth here for a second. What about the giants that 99% of the public does not believe ever walked this earth? They did walk this earth.
I was just looking at a website with the pictures of their skeletons today, yes.
Well, yeah, elongated skulls. I mean, you're not going to get that kind of elongation from a head wrap. You may be able to do that with Ubangi lips, but you ain't going to do it with somebody's skull. And even if you could, how do you account for the 16-foot height, or 14 feet, 12 feet, 15 feet? These people were huge. Double rows of teeth, 6 fingers. You can see all of this. This isn't some made-up woo-woo stuff. This is real. Well, they teach this in school? No. They don't teach kids how to spell cat in school anymore. They're taking cursive writing out of it because the communistic view is that, well, cursive writing is elitist. Besides, you don't really need to be able to write anything. All you have to do is be able to look at these symbols and click this mouse. It's all about control. And the worst part of it is it's about other protoplasmic entities controlling other protoplasmic entities. The question is, who's running them? Control of other human beings and nothing but. Go ahead, sorry.
And that's exactly it. Where is this all coming from? And what we hear a lot of now, if you listen to David Icke, David Wilcox, all the Davids, and everybody else, Simon Park, there's a lot of people who do talk a lot about the whole reptilian concept. David Icke is very much about the reptilians and alien influence. I talk with a lot of other people who do my type of work about influence, mind control from government-run facilities like MyLabs and MK Ultra and all these other different types of scenarios that will etherically place implants within you to cause and affect different things and to make things happen.
Well, and the thing is that many people out there will say, particularly the so-called intelligentsia, oh, you know, they will ridicule a creator. Some people don't want to say God. If you say God around somebody, they start moving uneasily on their feet. If you say Jesus, and it's like you just threw some vitriol at them. But I don't want to get too far afield here, but anyway, carry on. I kind of got off the trail here for a second. I'll pick it up in seconds.
This show is wide open. You want to go ahead and say something, you go ahead and say it. It's not a big deal. Now,
but bro, it's just that it's that thing that a rose by any other name smells as sweet, but there's a flip side to that coin too. Let's take the subject of rape, for example, whether it's men on women or men on men or whatever it is. That is not about amore. That is not about sexual gratification even. It's about power and control. It's about humiliation, which is a component of control. It's about all of these things. So the question is, which side are you on? And everybody needs to ask themselves that question and answer it. Which side are you really on? At least what I started to say was, because you prompt so many questions, the responses to them start coming out at once. These people want you to believe that there is no God, there is no Christ, there's none of that. No, there's none of that. But I'll also tell you this. The lies that you are telling you, here's another one. They very much believe in those two things, but they have made a conscious decision not to serve the creator of this universe. People say, well, why are we here? We're here to serve our creator. Well, how do we serve our creator since our creator's invisible? By following these rules. That's how you do it, because it's not about flesh and bone. It's about thought and feeling and then physical action. But it's the spiritual level that comes first. You know, or as somebody said, I can't remember who said this, but between your head and your hands is this organ called the heart. And that should be the intermediary between your mind and your hands. And so when you hear of these things happening, you hear about, everybody knows that governments lie. They've always lied. They make big things look small or invisible if possible, and they make little things look big. That's what they do. That's why historically it's been the leaders who have been the ones who were held to account for what they did to the people. The object is to, yes, we need to have an administration, but people down here in subject land need to be every bit as smart, every bit as adept, and every bit as well informed as the ones who are leading us. After that, leadership becomes strictly administrative, not an office from which you can levy power of life and death over other people. That's why the kings of old and the queens of old made it such a big deal. It's like, I'm actually a god. so don't mess with me. They're not about to say, I'm just like you and Jack and Jill over there. I'm one of you. Well, who's going to follow somebody like that? But you're liable to do what you're told if it's like, listen, you contradict me and you're contradicting God. Understand? Now fall upon your faces and give me 20. And everybody does it. So anyway, carry on whichever direction you want to go.
I had a talk once with Chris Rutkowski. He's in Winnipeg, actually, and he is Canada's biggest UFO investigator. Okay.
Yeah.
So we were at a conference together talking about, it was a paranormal conference, Paracon. They have them all over North America. And this was one was in Winnipeg, and he was there, and we actually got to sit down and talk with him for a little while. Now, what his job is not to promote the knowledge and the fact that UFOs and aliens are here. His job is to dispel it, to say, okay, somebody made a report. Let's prove it wrong. Prove it wrong. It has to be right. So he did come forward with some rock hard facts that, yes, indeed, this one person had these burn marks on his body in the 1950s that couldn't be from anything else in the vicinity from some kind of metal object. Anyways, there was a statement made by Canadian Paul Hellyer.
I've spoken to him on Caravan to Midnight before.
Okay, so this is a great subject to bring up. Now, he made a very big claim. He sat in front of a big group of highfalutin politicians and people. Was it the UN or something like that?
Yeah, it was huge. I think it was back in 2005, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. And he came forward and said, there is aliens present in our society right now. And he went on and talked about it. And I asked Chris Rakowski about that. And he says, oh, that guy's off his rocker. He's in his 80s. He doesn't know what he's talking about. What kind of conversation did you have with Paul Hellyer?
You know, it was really mostly about everything but UFOs. But he unequivocally stated that what he said was the UFOs are as real as the airplanes that are flying overhead right now, because he's seen the documents. This guy's a former Canadian defense minister.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure he got to see quite a bit of stuff that the citizenry doesn't get to see. And so he's seen the photographs. He's read the reports. And there are just too many of them now. There are too many of them now. People just need to get over that. When Chris Putnam and Tom Horn went up to Mount Graham to the Lucifer apparatus up there. I think that's an interesting name for a joint telescopic venture on the top of Mount Graham between the Vatican and NASA. Because there's a lot of occult stuff that goes on in NASA, believe it or not. And I think we know there's a lot of occult type stuff that goes on in the Vatican too. And that may offend some people, but if you don't believe me, you can look it up. You don't have to believe everything you read, but if it's important enough to you to get a rise out of you, then look into it. If I'm wrong, fine, prove it. Yeah, I don't think you can. But the thing is they're saying, they told Tom and Chris, aliens, UFOs, there's so much stuff going on up there, we have to wait for them to get out of the way so we can see what we're looking at. So, I mean, it's a done deal, people. This UFO thing, this isn't like some nonsense, biker acid trip woo-woo story for, playing with the flashlight under the covers and you're 5 years old again. That's not what this is. This is real.
100%.
So, and I'll tell you what, I get the feeling that they're following us around. I mean, my Caravan crew, and I'm not kidding either. When 3 separate cameras take a picture of an orb descending from a big halo around the sun out in San Francisco, right over by Richardson Bay, and 3 separate cameras, we just thought it was weird, so I shot some pictures, and Mr. Ghost shot some pictures, and Blonde Savant shot some pictures. Now, in Ghosts, that's just his little code name, He's actually my son.
Okay.
You could see a ship in his. I'm not kidding you either. It looked like a little teacup. I'm not going to say it looked like a saucer because it didn't. It looked more like a teapot with the spout and the handle blunted. That's what it looked like. And it was a purplish effect, kind of a light purple, like that nice color in the Crayola box, the one that you never use because there's no purpose for it. And this orb descends, and it comes off. By the time it's all over with, it's across the road. We took a lot of pictures before. We took a lot of pictures after these. So people say, oh, that was just a sundog. It's like, no, that's not a sundog at all. I know what a sundog looks like. That's not what this is. Then just this past weekend, we flew from Dallas to San Diego and then bounced up again to on another plane up to Sacramento, where we met K2, our producer. And then from there, we drove to Reading to this geoengineering conference, which was really quite something. Well, Ken looks out the window, and he gets his camera out real quick, and he takes a picture of 3 shining, they look like little miniature suns. The one in the middle was really shiny, and the one ahead of it and the one behind it were smaller and slightly dimmer. They were in almost a perfect line there, and I thought, are these guys following us around or what? There it was. I mean, it's not like, oh, look, there's 3 airplanes. No. Oh, 3 blimps? No. 3 balloons? Don't think so. Clouds? No. Well, what are they? Well, I don't know. What do you think they are, since they're none of what you just mentioned? So, get over it, people. It's happening. We are on, this is an extraordinarily exciting time to be alive.
One of the big videos that I've seen that really solidifies it, and you can go on YouTube and you do a search on UFO Dome of the Rock, Jerusalem. There's some kind of event happening. I forget exactly what event it was. And there's a lot of people in the area on a bridge, surrounding the area.
Yeah, where that thing shot straight up and all of that.
Yeah, it's a gold orb that came down. It hovered right over the Dome of the Rock where Jesus was supposedly born. And it stayed there for a few seconds and then shot straight up. Now, the ones that you can tell are real is when there's a lot of people with cameras and you get a lot of different views of it, and you can hear the comments in the background. Oh, look at that. Wow, that's a UFO. Look at that. And people are making noises and saying ooh and ah. And all of a sudden this thing takes off out of, and there's this absolutely no denying that was something. Okay, UFO means unidentified flying object. This was definitely something. So you can go on YouTube and view it. And there's been parodies on it. People have played it up and made funny things out of it. But I would encourage anybody to go onto YouTube and find that video. It is definitely something that will raise your eyebrows and make you realize that there is something going on. Now, disclosure, full disclosure. We hear stuff on the internet about Russia saying, oh, if the States doesn't do it, we're going to do it. Who's going to make the first step forward to come forward and disclose what's going on here?
I think there's a good chance that President Putin will do it.
Putin?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get anything out of the American government. And it's my opinion, it troubles me to say this because, back when Bill Ayers was doing his thing, I was very much the silent American, not really the my country right or wrong, but I was very, very nationalistic in my attitude. I'm still nationalistic as far as the country is concerned, but we are no longer a nation. And I never thought that I would say this government is absolutely, completely corrupt. At least, certainly 95% of it is corrupt. And the other 5%, they have their efforts frustrated by the majority. So I think it's going to be Putin. We spoke with Father Paul Kramer today, a Catholic priest from, he's based in Ireland. And he was talking about this Pope and all of this crossover between government, communism, space, UFOs, and this big agenda to do, as Albert Pike mentioned, but it's an agenda that started a long time ago, many, many years before Albert Pike probably was even born. And that is you're going to remove religion, you're also going to remove atheism, and then you're going to have your world religion. Atheism and religion have to go to make way for the new order. And I think all of this, the first thing you have to understand is that virtually everything on this planet is orchestrated from off-planet. And I completely agree. I am a Missouri-born Texan, which made the show me thing even worse. I'm like completely, not necessarily cynical, but pragmatic in that. Let's see the facts. And you stated the scientific principle perfectly. Prove that it doesn't work. Prove as hard as you can that it doesn't work, and you will have proved your point. You know, like wasn't it the Michelson-Morley experiment where they were trying to, I want to say that it was those two guys, trying to prove that there was an ether wind, you know, like a force that Obi-Wan Kenobi spoke of. Well, they concluded that their experiment was a failure. They just couldn't get the data that they were looking for, but they just had it slightly backwards in their philosophy, because what they had done, they had proved that there is no ether wind per se. And yet, could not the electromagnetic radiation that surrounds everything in our known universe, perhaps that is the ether wind? And going back to what you said about that thing that shot up out of the I think it was the Temple Mount, wasn't it?
Temple Mount, yes.
The moment that you brought that story up, I fell victim to the same thing, I'm sure, that everybody else does from time to time. I remember one little blurb that said, oh, this thing has been debunked. And so when you read that, you just go on. Remember,
one person says, oh, I have a reason why it's not real, everybody just forgets about it. Yeah.
Hence the expression, the squeaking wheel gets the grease, meaning the one making the noise gets the attention.
The proof in the pudding scenario is very much, you know, as humans, we need to see it right in front of us. We need to be able to touch it, feel it, taste it, see it, manipulate it, and talk to it. Okay, we need all of this credibility. Now, let's compare this back again with the work that I do. Now, when I do energy healing on somebody, there's a lot of people. Here's a case in point. My wife and I went to visit some friends the other night, and this one person has a lot of health problems, and all she does is talk about them. And I look at this person, I say, you know, I could fix that in probably 2 sessions. She looks and says, yeah, I know. And then she turns around and starts talking about it again, because there's a lot of people who just don't agree with what I do, and that's okay. I got no problem with that. But proof in the pudding. I work on 9 people a day, 5 days a week, and every one of them, 99% of them, get a change in their health problem. So proof in the pudding is very crucial to humans. And when they see it happen within somebody else, they see a change. Okay, something happened to that person. What'd you do? I worked with this guy named Chris. He did some energy work, and all of a sudden I feel good. And then people are going to start paying more attention. So something has to happen on a greater stage where a video of something just isn't good enough, because somebody can really discredit that with one word, as you said. So something has to happen on a grander scale. And there has been many, many sightings. You look at Mexico. There's tons of sightings in Mexico for some reason. Maybe it's cheap tacos. I don't know what it is, but there's always a lot of sightings in Mexico. Colorado lights. There's quite a bit of activity in Colorado. People see this. There's no other way to describe it, but still, it's on video, and it's going to be tough for people to really accept it until something lands on the ground. They come out, shake your hand, and say, take me to your leader.
Yeah. It's interesting. Well, again, my son took a video with a smartphone of some of the same light balls that we saw over Japan recently. Looked just like them. They were streaking across the sky, and you can see this. You know, they're streaking left and streaking right. No spotlight can traverse that fast. I can tell you that because I'm familiar with virtually all of them. I've been doing narrations for companies to do that stuff for a long time, going all the way back to Shoko in the late 70s and early 80s. So here come a bunch of them. The bright ones, they just kind of go kind of quickly and then slow down, and then just one after another feed into the same spot, and it's almost like it's making a moon. It's like, well, spotlights don't do that. Well, they put it up on YouTube, and then, of course, you get a bunch of expert geniuses come on there going, this is clearly faked and blah, 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 and they don't know what they're talking about. The same type of people that I saw in one of the blogs when they were talking about me on Coast to Coast AM saying, that's not his real voice, you idiots. He uses a voice changer and all that. Well, no, I don't. So it's like Arthur Clarke said, for every expert, there's an equal and opposite expert. And then going to what you say, you see the proof. What do you think about it? But there's always going to be somebody that says, well, look, I just saw this magician pull a rabbit out of a hat. I saw him do it 3 or 4 times. I was looking to see how the trick was done, and I can't see it. So as far as I'm concerned, he really did make a rabbit materialize in his hat, and he pulled it out. See? So when people walk away from you, when you say, look, I can heal you with I can help you with that problem, and they go, yeah, I know. And then they turn around and start talking to their neighbor there about the problem some more. Even if you were to help that person, they think so little of themselves, track with me on this, that it must have just been a fluke, and
Yes.
they will not risk it working twice.
That's correct. One thing I want to touch on is Area 51.
Yeah.
What up with this place, dude?
I have no clue, but I can tell you this, I'm not going up there. I don't think, and I especially won't go up there if they invite me. Hey, would you like to come up to Area 51? Just get in the black Suburban. Be like, no, that's okay.
Yeah, say goodbye to your wife and kids, and let's go have a party for a while. No, thank you.
Look, here's the deal, Chris.
Thank you.
I used to say that all the technology that you think of right now as being current is 30 years behind what really exists. And I just based that on the Navy had fax machines in the 50s. We didn't get them until the 80s, the mid-80s, okay? But here's the other part. The thing was invented in the 1860s, I believe. Mm-hmm. Mid-1800s. I can tell you that, the 1800s, 19th century. So people need to be prepared for, the slogan of our program is make ready for what's to come. And sometimes I put on there, because baby, it's coming. And it is coming. In one way or another, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen anyway. So, if you don't feel like preparing your mind, if you don't feel like discovering who you really are and what your purpose really is, if you really think what you're here to do is just go to your job and, just try and make yourself happy because, if there is a God, I think he just wants me to be happy. It's like, no. Happiness comes after you've done the thing that will make you happy, which is recognizing that you are not responsible for your being here. And you can go into a bunch of deep stuff all you want about the Nephilim and the Anunnaki and the whatever, The question is, well, who made them?
Yes.
Well, the Umgamadus. Oh, the Umgamadus made them, huh? Well, who made the Umgamadus? It never stops. There's one guy, this dude named Lawrence Krauss, friend of Jeffrey Epstein, the pedophile. I saw it in print myself. He asserts that in his book, A Universe from Nothing, because he's a scientist, and he'll tell you that the universe is so cool that it actually created itself. To me, this is not science. This is rubbish. But maybe that's just me.
Everything comes from somewhere, or so we think. Now, you gotta realize that what we perceive isn't really true. There's so many things out there that we don't understand, can't understand, and can never visualize or wrap our heads around. And that's what we have to just put. That's where faith comes in. You just have to have faith that it's here for a reason. That's all we need to know. As humans, we need to know the answer to everything. We need to figure everything out. We need to know, okay, why is this here? Who made it? How many nanoparticles are in it? Is it good for me? Is it bad for me? What does this person think about it? We need to know every iota of what is something, what is everything. And I think that's where we fall short, is that we just dissect things to the nth degree where we have to end up making up things about it to appease our own curiosity and to, make sense of something. Where I just tell people, look, it just is what it is. Don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do about it. Just leave it alone.
Yeah. Well, nothing happens without one. I believe the first domino that falls is intention, which is why things get screwed up. Because when people have an intention, they're concentrating on the effect. They're not looking at the series of causes. And as we know, many times causes are far smaller than their effects. That's why once these things are put into motion, they can very easily take on what seems to be a life of their own, because the intention was the only thing that was factored into what is happening, what has been caused to happen. If you don't have step 2, but you have realized your intention, that's when the illusion of it having taken on a life of its own will occur, and that's where you will become lost as this thing gets away from you. You know, and keep in mind also that not everybody wants to know. I've spoken with several people, just run into just absolutely casual and just momentary acquaintances, and just have a little chat with them. They don't know anything about my background or anything. It's just stranger to stranger. And I've heard many people say over the last just few weeks, they don't want to know what's really happening.
Mm-hmm.
They're happy in their little box, and that's where they want to stay. It's like, okay, you know, the steps are laid out for you to place your feet on. And you can do that, or you can stay where you are. Once you've gone up a few steps, you can also step off. But if you step back on again, you're going to have to go to the first stone again. You're going to have to start all over.
And we're going to leave everyone with that thought. Tonight's guest on A Quantum View has been the wonderful John B. Wells. John, thank you so much for being on. Thank you for returning the favor.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be on with you. And you may you be blessed, sir, and carry on with your healing.
We certainly are. We'll see you back in 2 weeks on A Quantum View. This is Chris Kehler. We are out.